you're looking for somebody that doesn't frustrate you or somebody that does everything the same that you would do, you're going to be a widow for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah.
Single.
Yeah. Or I guess.
Is he gonna die?
Yeah, no, sorry. Not a widow.
No.
The
implications to
Not a
that.
widow. What was it? There's a word I was looking for.
Implications, there's like...
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Young Adult Podcast. My name is Connor, and I will be your host. Joining me today, we have Young Adult's very own Casey Mexico.
Oh, nice.
I'm pretty sure that's applause.
I hope so.
When we had headphones, we could listen. And making her very first appearance on the Young Adult Podcast, we have Red Rocks Kids' very own Juliana Meeting.
Wow. Wow.
Did I pronounce your last name right?
Yeah, but you pronounced my first name wrong.
Did I really?
Okay, so I was going to make a confession that I didn't know if your first name was Juliana
Nobody
or
knows.
Juliana.
I've only heard you called Juliana.
Because I just don't correct anybody, but I felt like this would be a really funny time to correct you.
Is it Juliana?
Perfect.
Juliana.
I'm the best
Okay.
host in the world.
And you know,
I don't know my guest name.
Oh, Connor. So as you were about to say it, I was like, I don't know.
I thought about it too. I was like, I bet he's going to say Juliana, and I should have told him before we started recording.
I'm going to
But
let you
that's
know that
okay.
no one knows.
I know, but this moment we'll know if people
say
are
your name.
listening to
That's
the podcast.
true. And I want to let you know, people on your team at church say your name wrong. And that's where I'm getting my references from.
That's why people call me Juju, because I think they'll be like, Ju. And they're like, I don't know if it's Anna or Anna, so I'm just going to say Juju.
That's what I do. I've always wondered, and then I just gave up.
You guys know. It's okay. I'm very unoffended by it. And
Well, we're going to keep
So
calling you
welcome
Juliana.
to Juliana. You guys
Meow,
can
meow,
loop
meow.
that back in, right? Yeah. All right. Well, sweet. Now that we're off on the great foot.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
I'm not going to be able to pull it together. Okay, I can pull it together.
My bad, guys.
Guys, Juliana, what's going on? Let the people know what you've got going on in life. What are you doing? Where do you work?
What do you do?
What do you do?
You know, that's a great question, you guys. I work here at the church on the kids team. I help to write all of the curriculum for...
Not just right. There's some videos of you that
yes.
the kids watch as a detective.
Yep.
No way.
Detective Doodlefoot was the character that they just made for me. It was actually really fun. I have to full method act when I do it because I get so nervous before I do anything like this. So I have to become somebody else. But then I had a Jennifer Coolidge accent, and I was like, this is really not the best for kids.
Yeah, I
But here we
saw
are.
these videos and then sent them to our small group. Little clips of them.
Yeah, I don't know how you found them, but
Someone
she did.
let me in on them, and
That's
they're
amazing.
hilarious.
I used to be the voice for kids animation.
Yes.
And then I was doing two different characters,
What were their
Bob the
names?
Blob
Bob
and Theo the dinosaur. But it would make me lose my voice because we would record a month at a time, and then I would have to preach. I would do it on Wednesday and have to preach, and I had no voice on Thursdays. So I had to bring Doug in to do the dinosaur. And for a year and a half or something like that, we were Bob and Theo, and I swear on my life, I would just be walking through the lobby talking to Aaron or something, and a little kid would be like, Bob?
Wait, that's cute.
It's the best feeling in the world, though, when kids are like, "Oh my gosh!" And
It's you.
You come out of the TV, and they'll see me in the kids' rooms, and they're like, "Wait!" And I'm I'm here. You're breaking the fourth wall.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
Yeah,
fun.
Doug and I put on they made us outfits for Halloween when our church used to do Halloween parties, and we went as Bob and Theo, and then we went back in kids one time as it, and kids were half of them were terrified, and rightfully so.
Yes.
And the other half were like, no way.
That's amazing.
I know. I never
should bring
felt
it
better.
back.
Yeah, I think I peaked at that point in life.
It's not too late to go back to that character.
Oh, I think
I'll put
it
in a
is.
good word.
I think
We'll bring
it
it
is.
back.
No. So, all right. Well, Juliana, kids, the famous Doodlefoot.
Doodlefoot, Detective Doodlefoot. It
There you
was,
go.
it's really crazy, you guys.
Oh,
We'll put a link.
here's our segue into Casey's funny story.
Hello. Before I was like, guys, I want to talk about a funny story. Here's what happened to me. Has this ever happened to you?
No.
Have you ever seen videos of whales getting cleaned getting barnacles cleaned off of them?
Yes,
Okay.
actually.
So I found a whole profile. It had almost 1 million views, and it was these huge whales being cleaned of all the barnacles on their back. But a lot of crazy stuff was happening in the videos. Like at one point, there was a full tractor on a whale's back, and then
Wait, what?
I know.
Not for real.
Okay, that's where I'm getting to. Is I thought this was all real, and then there's a video of a dolphin getting its barnacles like scraped off, and then apparently in the video, which I didn't see at the time, the dolphin had like tears coming out of its eyes. And so I sent the video to Kendra. And I was like, Kendra, this is like such a cool dolphin video. Like they're cleaning it and like restoring it back into the wildlife. Like this whole page is amazing. And she was like, this is an AI page, like a full AI page with the
None
people.
of it was real.
But it looks so real. Have you seen those?
I haven't, but
I seen videos of the barnacles getting cleaned off, and now I'm questioning everything.
They're not real.
Because do they actually do that?
No, I think it's all AI.
I'm really
I
disturbed.
can't
by
tell
that.
the difference, and I think that's not good.
I follow this sports page, and it's the greatest thing ever, but it's wildly inappropriate. I can't remember what it's called, but essentially it's they do AI like post-game interviews of what they think the people would actually want to say. And it goes totally unhinged. But the way that AI does it, like half the time I think it's like the real post-game interview, but it'll be players just talking crap about each other, like dogging them. And if you're not like, if you don't see the little like,
Yes.
handle, you're like, wait, what did he say? Oh, okay.
Because like normally it'd be like, win as a team, lose as a team. But in this, it's like,
It's
I
it's
can tell you who dropped the
yes,
ball.
it's the pettiest stuff, and it's hilarious.
See, but the fact that we can't tell is so scary to me, and it's
I know.
only going to get more advanced. I'm not a hater of it, but I'm like, I'm a smart person.
Do you think AI
How
will
did I-
ever
I know.
pastor, like preach?
I think it already is.
Well, Juju's had some emotional experiences with AI.
Oh, good. But I think like people use it to like write their sermons, like, and then is it an original thought from the pastor, or is it not? Like, where's the line? Or you think of like people in school or college, and there's no like tools to use for them to catch it, like plagiarism. Like, how do you tell if it's ChatGPT writing?
There's not. I feel like they would have stuff to be able to flag it.
Yeah, my friend's an
think
English
so.
teacher. He says he can usually tell because the level is much higher than all of his students.
They're like,
He's
"You're
like, nice
actually not
try,
that-"
Erica. Never seen you write like that before.
It's like Shakespearean.
I was
like,
like, yikes. But you can't even, I think they're learning too, you can like cater it. Like if a 16-year-old girl were to say this, say it that way. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh gosh.
I'll be totally honest. I would do that 1,000%
Oh,
if
if
I
you're
was
in
like
school? I was
going
in
back to
school?
school.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
I totally would. I just
you got your
graduated
master's
last
degree.
year,
Just
but
kidding.
I didn't know it was even around. It's like in the last year, I feel like it's really taken off. It's everywhere now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a year ago, God, I wish I would have known. Why didn't you
I feel
tell
like
me?
schools have to like adapt to that.
But we had like a course, and my professor was saying that they don't have any, what am I even trying to say, the word software to like run it through, that they can tell just by like verbiage or knowing, like you don't write like this and this is like totally different. But they're like at this point, and this was probably like a year and a half ago, they're like, we don't really have anything to like fact check that you're, because it's like they're just pulling it from like Google. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's great. Okay, before we dive into our
Sorry.
real combo, say like fact checking. This is a true story. I can call my parents right now and verify this.
Okay.
There's a teacher I had in high school. I won't say her name. Can't stand her. And she hated my guts. It was very mutual.
really
And she was like my chem teacher and was teaching us how to like balance equations and different stuff like that. And she had just gotten her doctorate and wanted us to all call her doctor, whatever, and just to be spiteful. Like we never would. And she would always correct us and be like, that's doctor. And we were like, okay, Mrs. Whatever. But so she was trying to teach me how to do something.
Okay.
I just, could care less. And then also like, wasn't paying attention, whatever. But I was trying, wasn't making sense, whatever. Had a girlfriend at the time, went to a different school, showed me how her teacher explained it, made total sense.
Yeah.
So I was like doing all this like chem work, whatever, getting all the right answers, but not in a way my teacher like told me how to do it.
Yeah.
So she got super frustrated, took my work, like a test, said she has a friend who's like a handwriting analysis person for the police, had them like match up and be like, I didn't teach you this, and this is like not your handwriting, not your work, and like tried to get me like expelled from school. So my parents had to have a meeting. I had to be like, one, this looks exactly like my handwriting. Your buddy is like probably falsely convicted like so many people.
My gosh.
Like it was my handwriting because I was doing the work. It just wasn't the way she taught, and she was so pissed. But that's my first time I saw my dad lose it on a teacher.
Really?
But, yeah.
How crazy.
Crazy.
She prideful. My gosh.
We got her back. I will tell you how after the podcast. Okay. It's not for podcast stuff.
I'm for her to take the time to like go out and find a friend to like she had it out for you.
It was me and my two other friends. She did it to all of us. It wasn't just me specific. It was me and my two other friends because I taught my other friends how to like do it this way, and we were actually doing it. We were learning. Like
you were like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine having a 16-year-old.
She's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Failed.
Yeah.
Because you didn't do it my way.
Seriously.
That's
she was just
crazy.
like, how do you know how to do it this way? And I'm like, I'm not telling you, but I do. And it's right. I know that.
It's from another teacher because you are bad.
You suck.
There.
Mrs. Yeah.
Mrs. Doctor, you're bad.
Yeah. Okay, well,
we're in.
Guys, you know what? It's kind of lighthearted podcast because it's a Q&A podcast. Every once in a while, we will post on our social media, either on Young Adults, my personal one, Casey's personal one, and we will ask you burning questions that you have, deep theological truths that you need unpacking. How do I know if this guy's right for me? Different stuff like that. No, just you guys ask questions and we do our best to give you our answers. We don't advise that you take all of our answers to heart, and we are not responsible for any of the outcomes of you applying the answers to the questions.
Yep.
However, we've compiled about 7 or 8 questions that you guys have put in. What we typically do is we gather all the questions, sort of synthesize them. Often there's repeating themes, so we won't answer every single question specifically, but if there was a couple questions around a topic, we'll kind of take the overarching theme, reword it, and then kind of answer that question. So if you're like, what the heck, you didn't answer my question specifically, sorry, a lot of people asked around that same topic. But are you guys ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
And answer the questions that will help young adults just reach new levels of spirituality and maturity and overall greatness.
Yeah, this is
They'll get more jewels in their crowns.
There you go. There you go. And if this is bad info, it was Casey and Juliana, not me. Okay.
It was Juliana.
It was Juliana, not
it was Juliana, her evil twin.
I love it.
Okay. First question. Is it bad to listen to music with profanity in it, especially at something like the gym? Like, do you guys categorize that as bad, harmful, not spiritually mature, whatever?
I do not, but I don't.
You don't think it's bad?
Guys, I don't know, because I think in my mind right away I was like, well,
tells you everything you need to know about Casey.
I know. Well, there's like, what does Casey do? And there's what does Casey think? And
do as I say.
Yes.
I just feel like listening to music, because I listen to music that has bad words, but I think it's just real. And I think a lot of the time when I listen to music, like you're listening to music, at least for me, it's like an experience.
I think that's the overarching, or maybe the underlying question is, does listening to music with profanity give you a propensity to then use profanity? Yeah. Is profanity wrong in and of itself, or do curse words sometimes have a time and a place?
And I think it comes down to like self-control too. It's like if you're listening to songs that have cuss words in it and now you have no control and now you just have to go like cuss everywhere, like it's probably like a different issue, and you probably have self-control issues in other areas, not just like cussing.
Yeah.
You should be able to like listen and be involved and invested in culture, because I think like that's biblical to like, we are culture creators. Yeah. And if you're not in culture and able to like have self-control around certain things and not let it consume you, like there's other spiritual things happening.
Oh, totally. No, I agree. This is in the category of taking the non-main things and making them main things. And I think cussing has been one of those for a really long time, especially like my grandma always said crap and she's like, Christians don't say those things. And it was like, okay, now as a little kid, I just see God as like, it just reinforces like God is a God of all these rules, first and foremost.
I think it's like, are you honoring people? Like that's a big one. So when you're talking about like, you're not like cussing somebody out, like, are you still honoring and like loving people, but also like just be wise.
Yeah.
Like what context are you in? What, like, I don't know. Is it, you're either going like one way, you're like moving toward God or you're not moving toward God. So it's like put cussing into that. Is it making you holier? And if your answer is like no, then like that's for you to be convicted by the Spirit.
Yeah, that's good.
Know?
Yeah, there's like Christian liberties. Is it, I think the greater question is, does it make you more like Jesus? Is it making you more holy? Is it making you meditate on good, pure, lovely things?
Yeah.
If not, then you should probably work that out with God.
Yeah, that's good.
And I don't cuss, just so you guys know. Moving on.
Yeah, me either.
Me neither anymore.
Somebody wrote, this is so rogue already. What is spiritual warfare? What is spiritual warfare, and what does that practically look like in our everyday life? Is there a demon behind every corner that like made it rain on your wedding day, or is spiritual warfare different? How would you guys define it, and how would you say it plays out practically?
It's a really big question.
I feel like spiritual warfare is different depending on the culture that you're in too. So like I think Christians in America are tempted and experience spiritual warfare different than Christians in Europe or in Africa. And I think a lot of things happening in the Western Christian context is the enemy is like lulling us to sleep. I don't think he really has to try super hard to like pop out around corners. I think it's music, it's culture. You know, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go back into that. But I think that there's just insecurity and things that people are experiencing. I think that's just spiritual. It's easy for him to attack and antagonize us in our context and in our culture.
Yeah, there's that quote by John Mark. I don't know if it's John Mark Comer's quote or somebody he's quoting, but if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. Yeah. And it kind of reframed, I think, for a lot of Christian Americans, like, oh, like it used to be like, don't drink, don't smoke, don't this, don't that. And then this quote kind of called out like, or like you can be productive, but if you're busy to the point of, well, I don't have any time to spend with God, or I'm not going to abide and allow God to work in my heart because I'm doing that work on my own and I'm making money and I'm being, and so it like called out our culture specifically. I don't know if that line would have worked in different cultures. But then there is the quote in John 10:10, the thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. It is interesting thinking about the devil as like a thief trying to steal, kill, and destroy. One, like your identity in Christ, your purpose in Christ, trying to get you to go down any other way besides following Christ. But then sometimes like so much of the way of Christ is really hard and challenging. And so I think sometimes people are like, well, if it's challenging, it's the devil. And it's like, or it's God. Like, I think that's when it gets confusing. I don't know. I feel like, Connor, you've been in ministry for how do people distinguish between like challenge though, like being challenged by God versus like, this is really uncomfortable, it must be the devil?
That's a great question. I don't know. I feel like I tend to lean more towards not skepticism towards like the spiritual, but like I probably under spiritualize things quite a bit. And I think C.S. Lewis in like Screw Tape Letters talks about how like the two sins are to over spiritualize everything and then essentially ignore it or say that like it doesn't exist. I do think, there is a spiritual reality. There's an enemy of the soul. There are principalities and things like that. There are two kingdoms colliding. One has already been defeated, and it's in the process of essentially like a hostile takeover. And then when Jesus comes back, that will be like fulfilled. So I think in the sense, like spiritual warfare is the clashing of two kingdoms, the kingdom of what the Bible called this world, and then God's kingdom invading this world. We're not escaping earth to go to heaven. God's coming down. That's the picture in Revelation. God coming down and recreating. But I mean, I think it's ignorant to say that there aren't spiritual components to life. I think everything is spiritual to some degree.
Yeah.
My clean language, your dirty language is spiritual. Like, no. So I mean, like, but do I think that the devil made my radiator go out in my car? No. Could he have? Maybe. Like, you know, like I think it's highly unlikely. I think spiritual warfare happens a lot, especially in Western culture, where it's just like the influence of evil on people competing with. So, like, for example, I want to say they're trying to make pornography illegal, like as like a general thing. There's like a bill or something that's trying to get passed that all pornography, no matter 18, like whatever, not just like the hideously dark, but like what people would normalize as like normal pornography. They're trying to make it all illegal. And there are like activists and people like actively fighting to like make that not happen.
Yeah.
I think you'd be so ignorant to say there's not an element of spiritual warfare like happening around that. You know what I mean? Of like eradicating that from society and then people fighting to keep that in society. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I tend to under spiritualize things, which probably isn't like the best. I think I have a family who not my immediate family, but like people in my family who hyper spiritualize everything. And I think I kind of like maybe went the other way from that. But I don't know. I think I'm not giving a great answer.
No, it's
like how it plays out practically day to day. I mean, I think in some ways there's always spiritual warfare happening. And then in some ways, I think not in the way we'd want to like romanticize it to be. If that makes any sense. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I feel like I remember, because I've been on like both spectrums of under spiritualizing it and not even recognizing it. And then I was a missionary for a while, and then I was like, wow, demons are everywhere. And that also probably wasn't like even the best. So I'm trying to find like a middle ground. And I feel like something that was helpful is I remember somebody, telling me like the devil's not like omnipresent. He's not blowing out your radiator or like giving you a flat tire or whatever it is. Maybe, but like the world is just broken. Like the things that we're experiencing are just part of a broken world. And it's like, how much of it is actual spiritual presence versus like actually the earth is like his domain until like Jesus comes back, and we're just like living in the brokenness. And it's like the enemy doesn't have to go and like give you a flat tire or help like make you lose your job or do all of these things. Like that's just happening in the world. And we just cling to hope like in it and try not. I feel like I was raised mostly to like not think about it. If you think about it, then you give it power, you know, that kind of world. And so then whenever I feel like I was a missionary, I started seeing things like in other countries, and I was like, that was wild. And so trying to find the middle ground of like, okay, well, I've seen weird stuff and I know that can happen and it's real. But also it's not, doesn't really have any power over like what's happening spiritually inside of me, you know? So it's like, it's like that tension of how much power do I give it and how much do I think about it, because it's already defeated. But it also is impacting me like day to day. I don't know. I feel like it could be kind of maybe a distraction sometimes to like think about the enemy and spiritual warfare. It's like, or do I just stand in my authority of like, actually, I get to walk in peace today. I can walk in joy today. Okay, I've lost my job, but like, I actually have these friends or this community, or I have contacts here, and I'm going to, or I don't know, step out in like your God-given agency to like not live in the brokenness or not let it consume you. You know? I don't know.
No, even though in like, I think about the mind being the place where so many people nowadays are experiencing spiritual warfare.
Yeah.
And that feels, I think, really scary for people because they're like, is the devil in my mind? You know, you're like, and then it's like, take every thought captive. And it's like, what are these thoughts coming from? And I
He
think,
won't be if you listen to clean music.
yeah,
while you're
just
working.
shut up. I hate you. But when I taught on the armor of God to like a bunch of youth students when I was a youth pastor, and I was like, how do I teach this to teenagers without freaking them out? There's like not a boogeyman under their bed, or they have a thought and they're like, I'm possessed, you know? And I was trying to, I guess like the illustration I came up with too that helped is like, say, somebody said something, or I didn't get invited to a birthday party or something. That's something that happened that can be painful. But what I think happens in the mind that feels like spiritual warfare is, no one likes you. And the reason you didn't get invited is actually because you're so annoying, and like your presence makes every single person that was invited just makes their skin crawl. And like the way that something that happens that might have been hard, it might have been tough, all of a sudden it like turns into these like 8 cases against your identity in Christ, against your value, that now all of a sudden you're on like trial. Like the enemy is like prosecuting you, and they're like, did you do that? And no one likes you here, and no one likes that. And that's when I was like, with the student, I was like, that's spiritual warfare, I would say. And if you need help taking your thoughts captive, because I think it's important for people to note that, and then go to somebody so that somebody can help them if they can't on their own. Like, hey, no, that's not your identity. I'm going to pray over you. We're going to let's read some scripture. Because if people don't know, and they don't know what to pull out of their mind and talk through, then they're just going to be like, oh, well, I'll just like choose joy. And it's like, but there's these 9 weird thoughts, or I'll numb myself so I don't have to think about those 9 things. So I guess when I was teaching to students, I was trying to, like, how does that one moment that was hard and bad and real in life escalate to like this crazy thought life? Spiral, I think, is a great word. So I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question, but if you're if you are struggling with that and you feel like your mind is where a lot of that happens, I would try to talk through that with somebody.
You can't be like in isolation.
Yes.
In any of those things. And I feel like if you're not in a place of peace, don't make any decisions. That is like, I used to always just be like, I'm freaking out. And so then I'm going to do something about it.
Yes.
And I've just learned like, that's not the pace of the Lord. Like he's so slow. And so I tried to like bring my physical body into a slow pace and then make a decision from that spot where I don't feel so like anxious that I have to like do something about this right now, or like text that person back because I don't like conflict, or like, well, you know, it's like just chill and find that rhythm with the Lord and then make a decision from that place. And I find that most of the time that I can cope a little bit better when I'm feeling in my mind those spiritual struggles.
Yeah. No, that's so good. Because, I feel like I'm quick to be like, how do I solve this immediately?
That's usually
Should I go on a 10-mile run? I don't know. Yeah. But
no, that's awesome. We're going to kind of skip around from the list that I gave, because I think this is just sort of a natural segue maybe on things specifically around spirituality and things like that. Somebody wrote in, I've been doing everything I know to do, praying, going to church, reading my Bible, and God still feels distant. How do I feel closer with God when I'm already doing everything I know and it doesn't seem to be bringing me closer?
It feels like their list of what they know to do feels like I'm like, read it and I'm like, oh God, that's so boring to me. Like that's such like no, not in a mean way. Is that really mean? Connor keeps giving me these looks, guys. No, all
like
of those things are very important, but it feels like a checklist. And also, I guess, I don't know if this is weird, but like, what's your closest relationship and what are your favorite parts about it, and then spending time with that person, and how can you implement that into your time with God? And then also, are you doing faith with other people? Because I think that's when God becomes really expansive to me, is I'm following him with people that are way different than me and seeing what they think and how they experience God. I think fun and adventure and play are all really big parts of life, and parts of life that God encourages us to dive into. And so I think your list is not wrong. I think it's a great list. Connor,
There's just
But
more.
I guess my follow-up question would be, are you having fun in your faith? And are you like, I don't know. I just, like, what does your faith look like outside of the four walls of the church? And like, what is your, I don't know, prayer life look like that isn't so like
because like
regimented?
God is everywhere. Like I know one of my friend's dads doesn't actually attend like a physical church, but he'll go on hikes up into the mountains and like listen to church on like a podcast and listen to it. And that's his church because he experiences like the presence of God in nature. And so he's like, when I'm in four walls on a Sunday, like beautiful Colorado Sunday morning, like I don't feel God here. Like I need to get out and like see his wonder. And that's where he experiences it. But it took him like 40 years or something crazy to finally discover the joys of God in something that he's been like gifted to do. And so I would be like, what do you love to do? What are your hobbies? What are things that you just like naturally find joy in? And then do those things and also know like God's with you in that. And he's like giving you those specific joys for a purpose.
Yeah.
And just have fun with that.
I know. I don't know if there's a right answer. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a cliche answer that's like, don't chase like the feeling of closeness. It's James 4 that says if you draw close to God, he'll draw close to you. So there's this reality that when you are doing things that draw you closer to God, I do think reading your Bible, being in a community of believers, Paul talks about don't forsake that. Like there's something about coming together and worshiping God together, praying. Those are disciplines that you do. And so it'd be easy to say, well, stop chasing a feeling. Feelings come and go. But I hate that answer because we're emotional beings.
Yeah.
Like it divorces a huge part of our nature from the way God created us.
Yeah.
And so I do think, I think just like some days you wake up and you feel frustrated and you don't know why. Some days you wake up and you're super optimistic. I will say like understand about stewarding your feelings. Like that feelings aren't the ultimate dictator, but they are a part of a holistic person.
Yeah.
And I would say like, I think when you do things where you find meaning and purpose, and I don't know, like for me, I love to paint. I suck at painting. I'm terrible at painting, but I love it and I'm trying to get better at it. But I like sense it fills me up, and I think that's spiritual. You know what I mean? Like I sense closeness with God in something that so many people would think is a waste of time and money.
Yeah.
And so I do think there are ways, I think your foundation is solid in the sense that when you start veering off and you're not reading your Bible, you're not attending church, that's when you can kind of create your own like pseudo religion and Jesus in your own image, and you're not really worshiping God. But I don't think that has to be your only form of like spiritual expression, if that makes sense.
That's a great distinction.
And sometimes I feel God when I'm reading my Bible. Sometimes I feel God when I'm painting. I think we've taken the traditional things that we know we're supposed to do that does like grow our spirituality. And we think that's the only place we find God. That's where we learn about God and we like get to know him better. But if we're talking about experiencing God, I think we can feel God in a lot of different things like in life.
Yeah.
So.
There also is like the level of discipline too, where it's like a lot of time you will pray and you won't hear from him, or you will read your Bible and you won't feel anything. That doesn't mean you stop doing those things. You come before him every time, even if you're not feeling like it, because that establishes relationship, and that discipline too, where I'm like, so often I would much rather sleep in and get up and like read my Bible because I don't feel him. This like I have better things to do with my time. When we're going back to like spiritual warfare of like that's a distraction or you're staying busy, it's like still coming to him even with like my nothing and being like, well, I'm here, you're not. There's something is still forming within me, even if it doesn't feel like it. On the inside,
Yeah. No, I like the question too, because I think I've been following Jesus, 16 years. And I think sometimes if I don't feel God, I'll be like, oh, well, it's all about showing up. I'll kind of swing to that older grandma self where I'm like, it's not about your feelings. Like, and then I'll even settle for that. And then I do think sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I need to press in more, like what, and ask that question, or go out on a hike, or talk it through with somebody. Because I do think people are afraid to ask that question.
Yeah.
And so maybe even the beginning of breakthrough, maybe there's like a real spiritual reason too, not in a mean way, but like what's your relationship like with your parents? Like, do you feel like connection, there's a cost to connection? Maybe you feel like you're not performing well in your job, and well, God only likes me if I perform well. And, so maybe there's two. I don't want to say it's spiritual all the time, because then it's like, well, that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
But maybe there also is a spiritual reason for why you don't feel close to God. And so I think too, processing with another believer of like, oh, why do I feel distant from him? And how do I feel about my own life right now? And how do I see me? And because sometimes we can project how we feel about ourselves onto God as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot there, but that's another little
But
take.
anytime either one of you have ever felt like, I'm doing everything I know, God, and like you're not here, have you gotten out of that spot with God?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
I was going to
So
say.
I think there's like hope even in that question.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I think, I know most of our audience that listens probably isn't married, but it's like in marriage, there are days where you just wake up and feel so distant from your spouse. And it's not because you're fighting. It's not because there's any rifts or there's anything wrong. Yeah. You're just two different people on two different wavelengths, but you eventually come back together.
Yeah.
Obviously, sometimes there's underlying issues, but sometimes there's not. And that's just part of being like a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think to your point, I feel that all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just time. It's definitely not something I intentionally do all the time to like correct it. But there will be moments where that like self-corrects just kind of through like steady, boring faithfulness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. We have two more questions we're going to get to. So we need to be concise.
Sorry.
Okay. We'll end with the relationship question. There is a relationship question if you want to make it all the way to the end. But this question, I feel like a lot of people will resonate with this. I often get anxiety or feelings of anxiety because I feel like I'm constantly falling behind in life. I'm currently in my mid-20s, single, don't own a home, and feel stuck in my corporate job. Am I falling behind in life?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
So mean.
I mean, no, I'm kidding. I don't think you're falling behind in life. I think we want to view life as this like escalator, like you jump on the step and it takes you up to the top, and you can run on, it's moving, and you can walk on it and run up it and get up even faster. And then I think compare like social media and all that give us different pictures of what success means. And obviously I think is a highlight reel of so many people's lives that even, it's almost funny. It's like we know that now, and so we think it doesn't affect us. It's like, oh, well, now I know exactly how social media affects me, and so now I'll be aware of it and it won't make me compare and it won't affect me. Almost like we're above it, yet we still are scrolling, and then subconsciously creating narratives in our mind about what success means and the timeline of that. And so, no, you're not behind in life. I think life is like a playground. I think somebody told me that once, and it really freed me up, because I was like, okay, what's my timeline for my 20s, and what's this job going to lead to, and what that job? And she's like, no, you are building a tool belt of skills based on all the things you dive into and put your hands to wholeheartedly in your 20s. And that was really exciting for me. I do have moments like I just turned 32. Oh my gosh. And I'm single and I don't own a home. I do not feel like I'm behind in life at all. And then I do have random moments where I'll wake up and I'm like, am I behind in life? It'll like dawn on me or something, but it's not my modus operandi. And I think that's because I have a lot of great friends that are in a lot of different seasons, and I see my friends who are married who have problems too, not in their marriage, but in life. And I see my friends married with kids who own a home. Their lives are not perfect. In my small group, we all have different seasons, and we all have different things that we're struggling with and working through, and God's teaching us and growing us. And so being in really rich and diverse community has kind of taken away the romanticizing of the things that people typically want, and how it's going to get you everything you need and eliminate all pain and discomfort. So you're not behind, and I would encourage you to press deeply into like community of people that maybe do have what you want, and see actually it for what it is entirely. Yeah.
And I think, dude, there's no script to life. Like I think feeling behind comes through, like comparison, either not like knowingly or subliminally. But I mean, you can be 36, work a good job, and quit that job and start over. You know what I mean? Like, does that put you behind? Like, I don't know, maybe not. Like, I just think when you have this narrative, and I mean, I could really dive into this. I follow a lot of finance accounts. Like, you know, our millennials, I think, like, are going to be one of the poorest generations in the world statistically. Yeah. Because like our parents, like our parents in the former generations, like built wealth, they're hoarding wealth, they're living a lot longer. So we'll inherit wealth, which typically tends to be what like helps the catalyst to like let people buy homes and stuff. Yeah. Like, so like there's a lot at play, but no, you're not behind. Everybody feels the exact same stress you feel. Like there are times where people like come to me and they're like, well, you're 36. And I'm like, hey, do you see my car? Like there's paint actively peeling off my car as we're speaking right now.
You can hear your brakes.
And feel them now. Like my car shakes like it's about to fall apart. So no, I just think like if you're comparing your life to somebody else, you might feel behind. If you feel like there's this hypothetical script or like narrative that you need to be living out, maybe you'll feel behind, but I think that's just a myth. And I think that I think like there's so many. When I was younger, I used to hate when people was like, there's a season for everything. But the older I get, the more it's like there really is. Like there's starts and stops, there's beginning and ends, there's life and death. Like it's all like a cyclical thing. I sound like Hindu now, but like not like reincarnated, but like there is just you know, like Ecclesiastes is one of my favorite books of the Bible, and it's just there is a season and a time, and yours might not look like somebody else's, so don't hold yourself to that standard. So
right, it's like, whose standards are you listening to? Like I always think of in the garden with Adam and Eve, and he's like, who told you that you were naked, you know? And I just find that all the time where I start to like spiral or like feel like I'm behind because I'm 34, don't have kids, and in church world, that's weird, you know? And so it's like, who told you that you needed to be 34 and have kids? Who told you that you needed to be married and have a family and buy a house in your 20s? Like, who told you that? Whose standards are you living up to? Because it's like God has you on a path that's good, and it's for you. It's not for somebody else, you know. And it's, you know, living in that freedom and that peace of like, who's telling you these things? Because it's not the heart of the Father like telling you any of that. You know?
What do you do when it's like a Christian, like somebody you trust, love, respect, that's kind of putting that pressure on?
Tell them to back off.
Back off. Cuss at. Just
no,
kidding.
I think asking questions is really helpful for me. When somebody is asking me something and I feel defensive or threatened, I usually just ask like, why are you curious about that? Or like, what's going on? Because usually it says more about the person who's asking the intrusive question than it actually does about me. And then when we can get to that point of conversation, it's like, oh wow, actually we went really deep there and healed something. It's usually a healing moment, but I try to ask questions because I find when I have a spirit of offense, like it's usually misplaced and I'm just misunderstanding the person that I'm speaking with, you know? But I get offended quickly, so that happens often.
Juliana.
The alter ego Anna comes out. No, but it's hard.
It is hard. All right, we have got one more question. Okay. We're gonna fly through this, and we're gonna wrap this up. Okay, this person wrote in, I'm struggling to find a serious relationship in life. I go on a few dates, but there always seems to be something that makes me hesitant to fully commit. What is the line of having high standards versus impossible standards? And how do I know when and what is okay to compromise on when looking for somebody?
That's hard.
I feel like this is right up your alley.
When I think compromise, I think Juliana. No, I'm totally kidding.
I've been so wrong this podcast because I feel like
I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm doing to you.
It's you.
I think this is hard, and I might contradict myself because I think when I was dating, I had I thought I had impossible standards, but I actually dated a lot of losers. Most were losers until my husband. But I just think that there's no perfect person, and and people are allowed to change. And so it's like, John, my husband, who he was is not who he is, and I don't want him to be. But maybe there would be things about who he is now that when I was dating, I would be like, oh, I wouldn't like that, and I would write it off. But now that I'm married and I'm committed, like, I love him. It's just like, at some point you have to just make a choice and know that they're going to change, and I want them to change, and I want to change, and I don't want to be held to the standard for like ever that I have to be this like perfect whatever version you want me to be. Like, I want to be able to like be sanctified and be different and make mistakes and gain 50 pounds, or whatever, but not feel the pressure of like, that you've set some invisible standard for me in our dating life that now I have to live up to for the rest of my life. Like, that is crazy.
Yeah.
But I do as I say, not as I do, because it was really rough out there for a while.
What was an impossible standard like when you were dating the losers? Sorry if they're listening to this.
They're not. Just
what was something that maybe they thought was an impossible standard that you're glad you held?
Well, that would be faith. I didn't date anybody who was a Christian until John.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
They were all, and some were like, I am. They weren't.
Yeah.
And if they're listening, you were not.
Yeah.
But
hopefully they are now.
Hopefully you are now. Godspeed. But that was one. That was like a non-negotiable, because that's how and not even because I feel like I could have fudged faith when I was dating, because I really liked you, or I had such a savior complex.
Yeah.
That was like a huge one. But I felt like my family, we do so many traditional things. Like we go to like Lenten services, you know, and just like different things that like are really like spiritually meaningful to me. And if I had a spouse that was like, I'm just going to stay at home, like you and your mom can go do this, I would feel so disconnected that I was like, not even because I felt like I could save you at some point. It was like, I don't want you around my family or like my niece and my nephew. And like, because like this, it was just so that was the most important thing to me ever, obviously. But I feel like in culture, you can kind of like have a gray area to dating where it's like, well, they'll come to church with me, but maybe someday they'll read their Bible, or maybe, you know, it's just like, don't even deal with any of that BS. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, if they're not in it, don't date them.
Yeah.
Bible stuff, BS.
Like,
yeah.
If they're not into the Bible stuff, don't date them. Like, just don't do it.
Yeah.
You're setting yourself up for hard knock life.
Yeah.
Some Annie.
The most middle-aged woman phrase.
I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. I think, and committing is, I think fully commit is kind of wild. Like, you're still like fully commit. You mean marriage or you mean date? I think the question they're saying fully, because they've been on some dates, so fully commit to being a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're still dating in that.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to, get to a point where you're like, either you're doing this or you're not.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people date for like 2 years before, but not be boyfriend and girlfriend. And I'm like, you guys, what are we doing? You're just playing house. And then
shoot your shot. Just do it.
Yeah.
And then you can break up.
And then you can break up. You can break up.
Is that terrible?
No.
I do think it takes a lot of courage
like, oh, no.
to break up. I've had a friend be engaged and call it off, which is really brutal. And like,
it sucks, but it's so much better.
Yes.
Than being in a marriage you don't want to be in.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think, Connor?
The word that jumps out to me is compromise. I think like if you're feeling like you have to compromise in any area, it's probably a red flag. But I would say there's a difference between compromise and like preference and things that like annoy you.
Yeah.
There's a laundry list of things that Erin does that annoys the crap out of me. And like vice versa. Like there are so many things that I do that annoy the crap out of her.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean I'm compromising.
Yes.
Like it just means like you said, like we're two different people with two different preferences. If the Enneagram means anything to you, like I'm a 4, Erin's an 8. That's like the most difficult relationship in like Enneagram history.
Yeah.
Like we just don't see life at all the same. and in some ways that's what makes our relationship beautiful, when we have the like awareness to like humble ourselves and view life from the other person's perspective. It actually brings like a depth to our relationship that I feel like not a lot of people can like have. But then it also leaves a ton of room for little frustrations. And so if you're looking for somebody that doesn't frustrate you, or somebody that does everything the same that you would do, you're going to be a widow for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah.
Single.
Yeah. Or I guess.
Is he gonna die?
Yeah, no, sorry. Not a widow. No.
The implications to
Not a
that.
widow. What was it? There's a word I was looking for.
Implications there's like they're done.
No, you are going.
You're actually gonna kill
You're
yourself.
you are going to just be single for the rest of your life.
So it's so true.
But if you're willing to get over small things, I think there's obviously a laundry list of things, and we can jump in another podcast and talk about this, that are compromise and that aren't compromise. Like, you need to have non-negotiables, but how they align the dishwasher. I'm hyper type A organized in the dishwasher. Erin chucks stuff in there and just...
Does she put like big dishes in there that she should hand wash?
Anything and everything.
Yeah, of course.
Like anything and everything.
It's very on
And I'm
brand.
like, if that's like a thing that's gonna like make or break for you, dude, you're single for a long time.
Yes.
You're in
Yes.
for a rough
Yeah,
awakening.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so many things. But I think you can have like, you have your non-negotiable list, but everything else, like, be flexible and have fun. I think dating should be fun. Like, I think you should just go out and meet people and date and go on hikes and like get to know people who are different than you, who have different thoughts than you, and whatever. Have fun. Don't
Yeah.
like take it so seriously. And
You
then
ever see me on a hike? No, I'm totally kidding.
Call the cops. It's being taken.
Oh, guys. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming and hanging out today. This was a little off the cuff, a little longer than we normally go.
Sorry.
But it's been great. I love doing the Q&As. It just
fun.
shakes things up.
Yeah.
You know, it's
A little
nice.
shaker.
So, Juliana.
Should we all cuss to end it?
Juliana. Oh my God.
If you've stayed this long,
Yeah. Juliana, thanks for coming and hanging out.
thanks
Let the
for having
people
me.
know where they can find you. Are you on social media? Are you?
yeah.
All right.
Juju meeting
There
on
you
Instagram. What
Yeah,
else
you're a
am I
fun
on?
follow. A lot of posts of dogs for sure.
My dog's really cute, and actually I used AI to make a human version of him, which if you have a dog, you should do because it's hilarious.
Weirdo.
go. All right. Well, hey. For
Over
all
and out.
things Red Rocks Young Adults, you can find us at Red Rocks YA on social media. We meet every Thursday, Lakewood campus, 7:00. And on the weekends, if you live in the Denver metro area, every Saturday at 5, every Sunday at 8, 10, and 12. Come hang out with us. We'd love to see you there. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.